Okay, I'm going to try this. Is my second attempt. I kind of waited too long, and they had an appointment at noon, so um, got interrupted. It's election day. Hopefully, you all got out to vote today, or if you're from out of town, you were able to do your absentee balloting thing. Um, anyway, today is this is kind of on sport, I guess, because barbecue is recreation or eating is kind of a pastime of mine. That's why you always see me seated. Anyway, but this is about how we do food. And I've got two objectives with this assignment. One of them is that when you mention like Scientific American around a lot of people who aren't familiar with Scientific American magazine, think, "Oh, that's for eggheads. That's too hard. I don't want to." No, it isn't. No, it isn't. They write it at about the seventh or eighth grade level, like most science books are, or like most good reading material is at about that level. And it's got a lot of good stuff, and they write in a very breezy type style that's easy to understand, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like you realize you're going, hey, wait a minute, I understood all that. I got this, and you learn something new. So that is my main. That's one of my main objectives with this assignment is that you're going to read three um, relatively short Scientific American articles on food addiction, calories, and the first cookout and stuff like that. One of the things on food addiction that you're going to find out is willpower is to keep from eating is, I mean, that's that's not the way to go. You know, we actually need to rewire people's brains who have eating disorders and are eating too much and things like that. With somebody like me, just an average Joe, yeah, all I need to do is cut back a little bit. But you're going to find out in this article how hard that is to do as a human being. When those pleasure centers in your brain are activated by a nice warm deep dish apple pie with a little creamy homemade ice cream on top of it. that's that's you're fighting Mother Nature because as you'll find, you're fighting evolution. 150,000 years of hominid evolution. We sought out foods like that because they sustained us, and we didn't have to eat all the time. As you're going to, when you read in the article, The First Cookout, you're going to read about uh, anthropologists and primatologists and people like that who followed around primates, and they eat all monkeys and apes eat all the time. They just eat. You'll, and as a matter of fact, if you've ever watched like National Geographic or the old movie, but and horrible in some respects, Gorillas in the Mist. Whenever they show the gorilla, they're always eating. It's because they eat so much fiber, it goes right through them, so they got to keep eating. And that's on The First Cookout. Once we learned how to sit down, once we figured out that, hey, we got this fire thing and we're cooking the meat, and so we had more, so we could eat and maybe not have to eat for another day or two as long as we had water. um, and so we were not always searching for food, and that allowed our brain to develop. So it's some interesting theories, and that's what you're going to get into. And I've also added on, there's only two videos, this little warm-up video here, and I've also added a video on barbecue, and it's about, and it's from the um, uh, public television. It's Okay to Be Smart series that they have, and the guys in Austin, and this kid who does these videos is from the University of Texas, so of course they're in Austin barbecue, and it's one of the most famous barbecue places in the world. Now, is Texas and Oklahoma barbecue better than Kansas City barbecue? Well, that's hard to say because they're the same thing. Something I learned, this is just a little side fact, um, due to the Jazz Age, when 18th and Vine was hopping, and we had people like Count Basie orchestra playing, down in the Gem Theater and stuff like that. And people would be on the Avenue and on 18th and Vine, and the Negro Leagues baseball was going huge. And any Kansas City who has not been to the Jazz Museum or the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, you have to move. You don't belong to you are not allowed to live here anymore. I'm kidding, but you should go. Anyway, but what happened was, during the heyday of the Jazz Age, all these musicians were like, well, Kansas City's the place to be, because that's where you'll get heard, and then you'll get gigs in Chicago and New York. But we got to get out of here, and we got to get up to Kansas City. And so they all these musicians would come, and what would they bring? They would bring, and if the hotels are full, or you can't afford to stay in a hotel, and they don't really have hotels like they do now back then, and there are not that many restaurants around. Restaurant eating is a whole new phenomenon, really, since the 30s and 40s, and Howard Johnson started it really big in the 50s. What would you do? Well, you had to cook. Did you have a stove? No. So what would you do? You would barbecue. You would cook out, and you would bring with you the barbecue that you like from home. And so Kansas City barbecue is, so all these people, all these good musicians coming up from Tulsa, from Austin, from Dallas, from Houston, and Oklahoma City, and all of the little, all the cotton fields in Alabama and Mississippi, and coming into Texas, and then moving up north to Kansas City for the Jazz Age and the blues, jazz and blues scene in Kansas City. When they would get here, they would set up little barbecue stands and cook that way. And on their trip up here, you would do barbecue, as you'll see in this thing. So anyway, that is why our barbecue is very similar. And Oklahoma Joe's barbecue, of course, it's Oklahoma or Texas barbecue is what we have here in Kansas City, which is completely different. When I was in the Marines and stationed in North Carolina, that is a completely different kind of barbecue. It's a very vinegary, and the first time I had it, I was like, this isn't barbecue. But then I really grew to like it. It's a whole different. It's very chopped up, and you put coleslaw on top of it on the bun and eat it that way. Some of you that are from that area, from Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina, go, "Oh yeah, that's good old. That's what real Southern barbecue is like." Anyway, so there we go. I'm hoping that the United States can be tomorrow. That we'll wake up. We'll have a new president-elect, and I hope that everybody remembers the lessons that their mothers taught them about being cordial and being a good person, and we will figure all this out together. No matter who's our president, in a lot of ways it doesn't matter. The most important person you vote for is the guy running, or guys and gals running for city alderman and things like that. Those are the ones that affect your life the most. Okay, so without further ado, I am done here, and enjoy this lesson. It's just reading 3 articles and answering about 15 to 20 questions, and you get 3 chances. You'll have fun with it. Out here. Oh, hit the wrong key.